Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to NerdTube. And it's time to do our Star Trek Strange New World Season 2 recap. We have a glorious bunch of Star Trek nerds with us today. First of all, my usual cohort in arms, cousin Burrito, also known as Cheeto. How you doing?
Doing good. Klingon in the sheets, Vulcan in the streets.
All right. Okay. God. We'll talk about that after. We'll talk about more about that after the stream. Beneath me, the a returning member of our Star Trek community who likes to do reviews with us. He has got been rebranded. He is Captain Shepard.
Captain Shepard of Commodore Productions at present. What's up? Thank you for inviting me over.
Oh, you're welcome, mate. You're welcome. And last but not least, they're so good that you don't get one, but you get two of them. And they are not joint at the hip. They are Mike and Adam. No. Mike and Adam, the Star Trek couple duo phenomenon. How you guys doing?
Hello.
Doing well.
So we're here for Star Wars Day, am I right?
No.
Exactly.
Read that shirt you got.
Star.
You're half right. Anyway, okay, so
Trek Star.
we have all of us. We finished watching season 2 of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
All the episodes are out right now, so everyone out there in YouTube land, I hope you got a chance to watch it because we're going to basically give our opinion on each episode very briefly. So let's start with episode 1, and it's called Episode 1. No name for it. A distress call from Lieutenant Union Singh compels Spock to disobey orders and take the USS Enterprise and its crew into disputed space, risking renewed hostilities with the Klingons in a bid to aid their shipmate. Now, I'm not sure if you guys remember episode 1, but I kind of do because this kind of harkens back to Star Trek of old, where people like Spock would say to hell with the orders. You know, they go against their command. Many a time they've done that, and probably from this being a prequel, that this is probably Spock's first time of doing this. Now, we'll start with our twosome Newsome in Mike and Adam. What did you think of this episode, and what do you remember, and how did you feel about it?
This is the one that introduced the new engineer.
Oh, yeah.
She tried to play it off like she was going to stop him.
The professor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it gave the vibe of when he steals the Enterprise to go visit Pike. So, in the original series.
I think just the entire season has brought a very fantastical cast. And we get introduced, like Adam said, to the new quirky professor who kind of gives a love to the engineering squad again. And she's quirky. I loved her in Kimmy Schmidt, if anyone watched that show, because she was the quirky tenant or landlord lady. That reeked of cat piss. So I'm very happy that she's in this show. I really I would always tease Cheeto and Zam that we're getting yet another Spock, but I actually really enjoy Ethan. I think his name is Ethan Pike.
Peck.
Delicious.
Ethan's Peck. That's it.
Ethan Pectorial goodness. Wow.
Yes. I think. As you can tell by the shirts, he has a very nice body. But
it's a Spock we can get behind.
But overall, I think we have a really good cast this season, and it was a very good first season. That I won't kill all of our time.
I thought it was a good first adventure, though, and seeing how he solved the diplomatic crisis with the Klingons was pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Spot
Okay.
drinking the blood wine. Yes.
Oh, that was funny.
Oh
as
yeah,
heck.
going
I engaged in
like the
diplomacy.
like a bunch of
A
pirate
drunken
boys.
Spock. That
Which
was-
Yeah.
they bring back full circle in the last episode.
Okay, Captain Shepard, what did you think of this episode?
It was pretty darn good. I mean, I liked the drunken Spock part when they was dipping a cup in there and smacking everything and bumping heads and all that. They're doing pretty darn good stuff. It was a good episode. I mean, I loved everything of it, and I also loved the part when they stole the Enterprise. I mean, the lady
You're-
said,
you're
"I
stealing
know
it."
you're stealing the Enterprise, so let me help you. Let's go."
Yep.
That's pretty good though.
Cheetah?
This started one of the most annoying things this entire season for me. I cannot stand that engineer. I
Get
that
out.
makes us love
Get out.
her even more.
Mike makes me get my taser out.
Mike Spockowski, you're trying to steal the Enterprise?
I will say her accent, I can't place it, but it just makes me laugh every time I see her on. But I think that has to do with more with like seeing her from Kimmy Schmidt.
I know her accent is basically 40 cigarettes a day and lots of red wine. That's the accent.
And probably moving all over the
Yeah, Pelia. Yeah, I know Pelia just starts this season as annoying as she finishes it. I'm just gonna get out of the way now, so I don't have to talk about her every episode of why she annoyed me. So I just at the beginning she annoyed me just as much. By the end of the season, I didn't like her. I didn't want them to have a new engineer per season, like a new chief engineer per season, like we did with the captains on Discovery. But I might just allow it if she like dies in episode 1 next season. Like I'm okay
Could
with
be
this.
going that way. It could be going that way.
Well,
with
she
what
just
we've
got
seen so
bored of
far.
the academy,
Here's
so
the other
maybe
thing: if
do
they
that.
make Montgomery Scott the chief engineer after being a lieutenant junior grade, I quit. Like that's almost as bad as them making Tilly first officer and she's an ensign. Like
Yeah.
what?
How you haven't gotten to that part?
It could happen.
Don't get me
It
wrong.
could
I like
happen,
Tilly. I really like Tilly, but that was a dumb call. Anyway, so really, I mean, the rest of the episode was middle of the road for me. Stealing the Enterprise. Guess we've never done that before.
This was the first time theoretically.
Every
first time-
captain or acting captain has to.
First
steal the
time
Enterprise.
chronologically, I guess, stealing the Enterprise. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
shame that
chronologically.
Kirk never mentioned in Star Trek 3. How hard can it be? Spock stole the Enterprise before. So it didn't bug me too much, but I was just kind of like, okay, this is the route we're going. We did get the Klingons, which was nice.
They fixed the
correct.
Klingons. They fixed the Klingons.
They didn't really fix them because in the original series they didn't have the ridges, but I don't care that much about it where I'm like all up in arms about
They
it.
are Klingon, but we do not discuss it with outsiders.
That's
Yeah,
right.
like so. I mean,
The original
why I'm
series
very-
also didn't have singing Klingons
That's
either.
right.
well, that's another thing they just don't speak of. But anyway, so first episode, middle of the road for me. I thought it was a weak opening episode. They really needed to come out with something, in my opinion, out of the gate with something better. But whatever. It didn't kill it. So
Okay, I thought this episode was all right. It was nice in the way the start of the episode without Pike being the center of attention, but then come the entire series, he pretty much wasn't the center of attention at all. But I have no problem with that for several episodes, but maybe it would have been nice to have maybe more than one episode of him being the main character. But nevertheless, this was a good episode. But bringing in that engineer who I also despise, she just doesn't work for me. I mean, she sounds like she's about to. She sounds like she's about to cough out a big fat phlegm.
We have Zam and Cheeto X on the professor. That leaves Captain Shepard.
Tiebreaker.
Well, you got to be the tiebreaker. You can't also hate her. I'm living a lot of.
No, I don't hate her at all.
Yay!
He doesn't hate. I already look.
3 beats 2.
You ever seen that? You ever seen that movie Hocus Pocus?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where she belongs because she looks like a fucking cast member on that film. And
I'll say more of why I really like her character, but that deals more with the last two episodes than it does this one.
All right, fair enough. All right, let's quickly mark it. You
Oh,
sure
by
you
the
don't
way,
want to mark it, Shito?
this episode is called The Broken Circle.
Oh, so thank you. Okay, thank you. The Broken Circle. Let's quickly mark it. I'm gonna give this episode a 6 out of 10. Captain Shepherd,
I'll give it a big fat 8. It's good.
big fat 8. Okay, Mike and Adam.
I'd agree with an 8.
Yeah.
Individually or both of you? You combining your scores?
Individually.
So fours. Okay. So 4 and 4. Got it. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Just so everybody knows, I am not giving. I've already given my scores, and I honestly don't remember what I gave. So
Yeah,
if
me
you guys
too,
want to
so,
know what my score is, you got to go back and watch our reviews.
No, jeez,
Good
that ain't
point.
fair.
That's too much work.
I don't remember. I
All
don't
right.
even
That's
remember.
just why I signed up for today. I'm lost. What's your
Yeah.
review? What's your score?
You got to go back and watch our episodic reviews.
Someone in the
Yeah.
comment section.
Everybody wanted
say
episodic.
something. I don't know what
now
his
you got to
scores
deal with
were.
our episodic reviews.
Is there a comment section? I can't see it. Hello.
No, there is, but anyway,
Season
look.
4, there's only 2 seasons.
Okay, so episode 2 is Ad Astra per Aspera. Commander Una faces court-martial along with possible
Is that where that
imprisonment
saying
and
comes
just
from then?
yeah. No, don't interrupt me when I'm doing my monologue. Commander Una faces court-martial along with possible imprisonment and dishonorable dismissal from Starfleet, and her defense is in the hands of a lawyer who's also a childhood friend with whom she had a terrible falling out.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yep.
Ad Aspera, to answer your question, Adam, I have no idea what that shit means. Sounds very American.
Okay.
All right.
Extra.
You
I
know,
thought it was because
it sounds like those university dorms, like Peter Alpha Dorm, Beta, whatever the fuck, those
like,
stupid things you have at American universities,
Eternity.
where they all fight, where all they do is fucking haze each other.
Well, they used the Ad Astra in the crossover episode because that's on her
she's the
recruitment.
poster
Yeah, it's her and her
girl.
recruitment.
Okay,
And
so
I don't think they explained it.
Ad aspera per aspera means through adversity to the stars, adversity to the stars, and it's Latin.
Okay.
Ooh.
So that's closer
Already
to you British people than it is us,
Oh boy.
Yeah.
He's outnumbered.
You do know that people who look like you come from Europe originally.
Me?
So you,
Not like him.
It's okay. The UK
and
had to
Latin.
acquire Zam.
And Latin, and also there's a massive Latin element in the southern continent to you as well, funny enough. And a lot of those motherfuckers are in your continent as well. Hello, Matt Arnold. Welcome to the stream. We are
Hey, Matt, what's
reviewing
up?
the entire season of
No.
Strange New Worlds. Okay, I'm going to start with you, Cheeto, this time around. What did you think of episode 2?
Oh, this was a good courtroom drama episode. I really thought that the acting was really good in this one. I thought Rebecca Romaine did a really good job in this episode. Pike really sold the friendship between the two of them without making it seem too cheesy, in my opinion. And yeah, it's kind of one of those political episodes. It's like they're trying to bring something to light about discrimination and stuff like that, about like being different and everything. And I hate to say it's like a typical Star Trek episode like that, because in my opinion, none of them should feel like that. So I don't mean that as in like, it's just another typical Star Trek trying to send a message. It was a good episode of Star Trek trying to send a message, so I sometimes they can be a little hot and heavy with it, but I think this time they did a really good job at selling the point of, the point that they were trying to make really well.
Yep. Okay. Mike and Adam.
I'll let Adam go first because I don't think I have too high of a score for this one.
Oh, it was good. I did like the courtroom aspect of it. I felt like when you get towards the end and you find out that she turned herself in, that kind of killed it a little bit for me. I felt like it should have been someone else that stabbed her in the back or something. But okay episode.
I consider myself a newer Trek fan for all those out there.
New
I
Trek.
I grew up mostly with TNG from like my parents, and then going into Voyager as well. And I really loved Picard, and then this show. I,
You weren't even born when Next Gen was out.
yeah, well, whatever. That's not my point. My point is that there are definitely episodes that I feel like kind of bore me out a little bit, especially in longer episodes that are drawn out. Like I call them the diplomacy episodes, where all we do is just diplomacy. And I really liked the last episode, the first one, because it was like the suspense of she got kicked off the ship, and then you're like, wow, that's crazy. And then this episode was just she's in a courtroom, they do things, the lawyer comes in, it ends. She comes back on the ship, surprise. Like those episodes to me, kind of, I hate to say it, they put me to sleep. Well, in this episode, I'm definitely going to rank lower, probably lower than a 5, 4 out of 10.
All right, okay. Well, I'll speak for your ranking in a second.
Not make or break the season.
Okay, no problem. Shepard.
I like the part when Captain Pike went to the lawyer's office wearing that oxygen mask and stayed there to hoping to see the lawyer. And of course, he ran out of air, and they says, "Well, get your butt in there," and gave him air so he could spill out what's going on. To me, that's a good captain right there. That's a real good captain. Yeah. But the two ladies did make up down the road. They won the case,
but they didn't make out. 0 out of 10.
Well, I can't help that.
That's
just the way it goes. You damn pervert, whatever. Other than that, it was a pretty good episode in my eyes.
I actually think this is one of the best episodes this season. It felt like classic Star Trek because this whole season it's kind of yo-yo-y with a lot of comical episodes, which here and there I don't mind, but it felt very comedy like this season. And then when you tried to put the more tragicness, it just felt, wow, this is a total 180 to what it was just the other week. I mean, the tone was all over the place. This was a good, neutral type of tone. But what I liked about this episode the most regarding the courtroom drama thing was the resolution. Now, forgive me, I don't actually remember how everything was resolved. But what I do remember that it was resolved in a way that wasn't cliched, in a way that they kind of got to the emotions to get a resolution. No, it was through legality that the resolution came about. The only thing I can discredit this episode for was that they had the bad guys in the courtroom had like a Vulcan in their back pocket to maybe be their like their arbiter to seal the deal for the Federation, but he ended up being fucking useless. So
he was kind of like the rival to Spock, and they had a whole thing, and then we don't hear from him the rest of the season.
Yeah, he was just supposed to be there. Like, okay, and they're like, oh, we're going to call out the Vulcan and bring him out and make sure that we finish this courtroom moment. But no, that never really happened. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I thought this was a decent episode. I did like it. Time to market. Okay, starting with you, Cheetah. Whoa. Oh, sorry, I forgot Cheetah's not marking. Captain Shepard.
I give it a 5.
Which one is this?
This is episode 2.
Yeah. Episode 2. Just give it a 5. I mean, like I said, the captain went to bat and everything. A lot of things happened in the court and everything, but I think a 5 is good enough.
Yeah.
And what about you two?
I already said my thing. I said 4.
I give it a 4.
Okay, I'm gonna give it an 8. I thought this was good stuff personally. All right, on to episode 3. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, La'an travels back in time to the 21st century Earth to prevent an attack which will alter humanity's future history and bring her face to face with her own continuous legacy. Ooh. Now, this is the episode where Liana was basically going all Niagara Falls for James T. Kirk. She for some particular reason with the eugenics wars, which is the most stupidest thing ever in Star Trek in lore. Some geezer from the past comes into the future, and then that changes the past. And now the Federation is more like how Earth we saw Earth in Discovery when they were out of the Federation, so to speak. If you remember, they're their own unit. They're not part of a contingent. They're not part of a federation of planets. But nevertheless, Leon and James go back in time into Toronto with everything usually is in New York, but thank God they went to Toronto, another bloody city, and they had to resolve some dispute. And this is where, so I'm starting first with all of this. This is where people started to wonder what the hell's going on with the timeline here. Khan should be, he shouldn't even be there. He should be in some space capsule, frozen, frozen in his sleep, like Ripley from Aliens. What the hell's he doing there? Why is he still a kid? What the hell's going on? Now there was some interesting moments with that Romulan who pretended to be a human, who initially looked like she was some sort of conspiracy theorist, but initially ended up being the bad person.
Spoilers.
We also it's all spoilers, dude. We also came across Hocus Pocus in this episode as well, and there was some sort of paradox here, which kind of gave her the motivation to become an engineer. So some of these things happened during this episode. An interesting episode. Nevertheless, I don't know how to say how I feel because time-wise, this is where it started to feel like okay, what we're watching now is a totally different timeline. What do you think? I'll start with Captain Shepard.
Well, start with me, huh? I like the part when Kirk was trying to get into the department store and he couldn't figure out how to spin around the
Oh, that was good.
That was funny as heck. He's like, I'm from space,
Yeah.
And they trying to figure out how to
Why not?
and they was trying to figure out how to get some money and stuff like that. So I mean, it was good. It was good. But that's
okay. Anything more? Anything more?
No, that's it.
Okay, Chia.
This is actually a really weird episode because you know me, I'm never, I'm not huge on them taking legacy characters and like revamping them or doing whatever. I would always like to avoid it at all costs if possible, but this is one of those episodes where I was glad I was proven wrong. Because I know this is a different timeline, Kirk, but I mean, I started to warm up to Kirk in this version of Kirk in this episode.
Yeah.
And then I remembered how much of a douchebag William Shatner was. So I was just kind of like, you know what? I'm good with William Shatner being replaced. And I mean, Chris Pine too. We love him, but he's in the movies. So in this instance, and honestly, I'm like, oh god, here we go, Noonien Singh, and now they're gonna, how is this gonna mess up the canon timeline? I've just come to the conclusion that Strange New Worlds, and this is a discussion we're gonna have next week on the Highly Illogical podcast. Strange New Worlds is not a part of the canon timeline, period. Like it is a part of a different timeline, and we'll talk more about that later. But in this episode, even though this is a different Kirk, I really did like their interactions. La'an is so good. I really love the fact that she is here because, again, last season, for season 1, I was always like, oh, how is a Noonien Singh going to be on the Enterprise already? Everybody, blah, blah. You know what? I'm letting it go. I don't care. I've made my own headcanon, and that is where I'm going with it. The Strange New Worlds is a different timeline. So, but yeah, so I really like this episode. I do love the picture that they pulled out of the Romulan bird of prey, and it looked like a model in the sky, kind of like back in the 60s when they were using models. And I did like the fact that the timeline changed, and we got a kind of a brief look at what the Federation could have been if there was no Federation.
Yeah.
So, or what the human race would have been without, like, and Starfleet would have been. Well, not even Starfleet, because I don't think Starfleet,
no Federation of Planets or anything like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was the Earth Defense Force, I think. So,
yeah,
I kind of wish they would have leaned more into the difference, because I feel like the Enterprise should have looked a lot different if it was not an exploration vessel.
yeah.
But anyway,
hello,
yeah,
John,
I
by
mean,
the way.
really good episode. I really enjoyed this episode.
Mike and Adam.
You can go first.
Oh, okay. I was trying to find something related to Shatner and all the Kirks now that would go along with what Cheeto was saying, but no, this was really good. You notice they had 2 time travel episodes in this season. One of them with La'an, very serious, we can't mess up the timeline. We have to fix this.
Right.
And then the other one is just the complete opposite. So interesting to see that. What else? Yeah, I did like how Kirk managed to win them all their
the chess.
Yeah, but 3D chess is hard or easy.
Yeah, it's 2D chess.
2D chess is a walk in the park. Yeah,
that's how they get the money.
Season 2 was
really
quite different, John. Yeah,
I would say that this was probably, if not closest to my favorite episode this season. I want to piggyback off of what Cheeto said, because going into the show entirely, I was like, oh boy, here we go. Another Kirk, another Spock. It just kind of seemed like they were just rehashing old ideas with the movies. And I agree. It's like you have Shatner that it's like, oh my gosh, done with that and whatnot. But this episode was really good because you got to really kind of almost really appreciate or like this new Kirk. And Union Singh, or I don't think I said it right. La'an. She was really good, and they just made a really good pair this episode. Going back in time, I thought it was hilarious with the spinning doors, Kirk doing the chess, and I really liked the twist at the end where it was like the human the whole time was the alien. And then it kind of posed that dilemma on the audience to say, would she kill her uncle knowing all the things that he was about to do and could even potentially erase her own timeline?
Right.
Kind of poses that, like, would I kill baby Hitler? So it's one of those.
It's the baby Hitler question, but for Star Trek.
But for Star Trek, right. So I really enjoyed this. Then you got to go back and appreciate the professor a little bit more too. And they made some jokes about, like, she stole art from the Louvre. And I just, that quirkiness I thought was funny. And kind of her history department, which was just an old abandoned warehouse. I appreciated that too. I would probably, as far as rankings go, probably give this a 9.5 or close enough to 10. I think this was my favorite season or episode of the season.
Comment here. What's a meme?
A meme.
I mean, is he talking about
this photo? So I sent it to
Is he talking about what happened in this episode, or did we mention a meme in this episode, or is he just talking generally? Because
what's a meme? Baby, don't meme me.
I just
don't
sent
meme me.
Sam and Cheeto.
more.
I sent you a good meme.
Oh, wonderful. Well, you're going to give it 9.5. What are you giving it, Adam?
I'll give it a 10.
Yeah,
This one was
a 10.
Because it sets up so much for the rest of the season.
For the rest of the season.
The whole struggle with La'an and
You're right, yeah.
Kirk.
And Niagara Falls for Kirk. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I've seen this meme many times, and I love it just the same.
It's wonderful.
That's a meme right there. That's a meme if you want to know what a meme is, John.
Kirk.
All right. Shepard.
Yeah, big fat 10.
Yeah.
All the way.
Yeah.
Big fat 10.
I'm going to give it a 7.
Ladies like that
I'm
10.
I'm giving it a 7. It was all right. I mean, like I said, it started making me question what the hell I was watching. No, look, I already questioned the fact that it was a fucking 7.
We'll never get a 10 from Sam.
It's hard.
Sam's given plenty of things, Ken's.
Yeah, I've already questioned the fact that we have a Sing on the Enterprise in the first place, who Spock and Kirk never knew about in the original series, and now we got this mishmash here. Like, what the fuck's going on? And apparently, the makers are saying that this is before the TOS timeline. I can imagine things being a little bit different with this timeline. It doesn't have to completely follow the other timeline. A little bit different here and there. But fucking hell, I mean, this is a big change. This is a big change, and I don't know. We need some answers, in my opinion. All right, yeah, it gets a 7 for me.
We need someone to
Okay.
maintain the timeline.
Anyway, on to the next episode, episode 4, Among the Lotus Eaters. Returning to a planet that dredges up tragic memories, Captain Pike and his landing party find themselves forgetting everything, including their identities, as he confronts a ghost from his past. Ooh. Cheetah, start us off.
The one guy was in the.
Who, me?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a good episode. I like this episode.
The time thing, yeah.
Them, like, all of them kind of forgetting, and they all played it really well. It just shows Anson Mount, like, is a great actor. He really sold it. Basically, it goes back to the medieval episode that we had last season, where Anson Mount's able to show his acting range. Because in this, he's just like this scared guy who has no authority. Like, in his mind, he has no authority whatsoever, and you feel that. So I did enjoy a lot of that. This one, though, it was good. I remember it being good, but honestly, I don't remember much out of that. They forgot. They remembered. There was some good parts. The one guy the one guy who, I don't know, he's been in a million shows. Didn't want to remember because he wanted to spare himself the pain.
Yeah.
He was on Titans. I just remember him being the one weird guy from Titans. Season 1. But yeah, I mean, I remember this being a good episode, but I can't say it was a memorable one because honestly, going through my memory here, I don't remember anything super particular other than those points I just made.
Ironic as that you said that regarding this episode. Mike and Adam.
This is the episode where Ortega says, "I fly the ship."
Oh,
so
this was our supposed Ortega's.
That's episode. The memorable thing from this episode.
I fly the ship. Yeah, because the entire crew forgot their roles.
Right.
So she had to use the computer to have be like, "You fly the ship. I fly the ship."
Damn.
That was pretty
funny. Yeah, it was like, oh, they forgot, they remembered, they do some science-y thing on the ship, and then they're done.
Yeah, I would kind of echo what Cheeto just said. It was a good episode, but it was not a memorable or didn't really tie anything into the rest of the season. So it was okay.
Okay, Shepard.
What y'all got to remember is there was an asteroid that was giving off radiation. That's why they could not remember. That's why the soldiers on the planet wore helmets so they could remember everything. That's the key right there, the asteroid. And at the end, they tractor beamed the asteroid off the planet and shot it into to get rid of the damn thing so everybody can remember everything again. That was the whole part of the whole episode.
There you go. See, Boom remembers all.
Damn right.
He remembers everything.
Yep.
An Elephant never forgets.
It's like pulling a hair out of an elephant's butt.
Anything else to add?
That's it.
Here, watch. Sam was like, "This is a 10 for me."
Oh, yeah, watch this.
Yeah. Look. This episode is actually a lot like classic Star Trek. It really is. It's an episodic episode where some sort of thing is going on this planet. You know, it affects the crew to a degree, in this case, their memories, and then they have to come to a resolution. Yep. And that is some of the things I liked about episodic Star Trek, and this is what we got. It really felt like classic Trek in that sense. It was kind of simplistic. The one ensign who survived, from the previous away mission happened to look like Genghis Khan, so everyone else looked like Genghis Khan and shit like that. I wasn't really impressed with the fact that some other people in space on the Enterprise were also losing their memory because somehow the radiation was seeping through. It was in space and seeping through the ship. I thought that was a bit, yeah, that was a bit bullshit personally. But nevertheless, it was. I like in the way that the characters themselves, even though they were forgetting things, they were they used enough initiative to somehow resolve what was going on with them, even though they were losing their memory, and it was done in a really clever way. So I like this episode, and it was a Pike episode, which is something people called it on the Taker episode. I think it never got a fucking episode this season, which is tragic in my opinion. She didn't. She was supposed to get one, and she didn't.
Yeah, and,
So
and I agree with that. That's kind of why I said that jokingly earlier, was because they people made it seem like it is the Ortega's episode, but it's not. She had like the secondary plot, I would say, in this episode. Because like wasn't in the beginning the one where she was like supposed to go down to the planet and then they kept her up at the ship?
Yeah.
So it's like
she's trying to go away on away missions.
Yeah,
she got ganked.
Yeah, and she's got like this. As I said, she's got like. I already brought that up, Sam.
No, sorry, I missed that. Sorry, what's it about?
But yeah, like it's so yeah. Some people do say, "Oh, this is the Ortega's episode." Yeah, well, if she got like the C plot of that episode, like
she was,
if that's her episode, then she got robbed.
Yeah.
So what was that comment about anyway? I don't get it.
Yeoman Zach, isn't that that's the guy that looked like Genghis Khan, right?
Oh, fair enough. All right, fair enough.
Right.
All right, time to mark. Yeah, time to mark it. I'm gonna give this a. I'm stuck between 7 and 8. I'll give it a 7. Shepard?
8. You big fat 8.
And Mike and Adam.
Well, I'm gonna give it a 7. It was a decent episode. Not too much happened.
Same for me.
Except for Ortega's flying the ship. She never does that.
I do love a good Ortega.
Her and Spock were good on the bridge though, too.
Yes. Yeah. And of course, Spock came out with the shield harmonics to block the radiation for everybody on the ship too.
Right.
So we're halfway through the season now. We're episode 5, charades, or as you guys call it, charades. I don't know.
Charades.
Do we call it charades? Anyway, regardless, I don't play that shit because it's for cunts. Episode 5, charades. A shuttle accident leads to Spock's Vulcan DNA getting removed by aliens, making him fully human and unprepared to face T'Pring's family during an important ceremonial dinner. This was, without doubt, one of the funniest episodes of the season, but we got a few of these funny episodes this season. But this kind of really started getting the ball rolling, so to speak. Ethan Peck, and if you don't mind, I'll start with this one. Ethan Peck's acting was phenomenal because he still had to have the essence of Spock, but now he's human Spock, fully human Spock, and he portrayed that so well. And the fact that he was also being very immature at times, and he was hungry, and he is finding very hard to hold back his emotions. It was cool to see his mom come back.
Don't forget horny.
Yeah.
And you loved it.
Nurse Chapel didn't forget.
Nurse Chapel didn't forget that point. That's right.
No, I know. He was only towards Singh, and
well, I think he was just attracted to her because she is hot. I mean,
they're all hot. All the women are hot there, but there's so many good moments. The mom came back from Discovery, who we saw in Discovery initially when they were searching for Spock. The actress came back. It was a a very comical episode, and I like the fact that they had to deal with these aliens who were like some glorified telephone hotline in space, call center in space, who thought they made the mistake and rectified the mistake, but didn't rectify the mistake properly, and they were trying to. And the funny thing is, this is like a very unique race, and that in the way should have been a prominent part. You're coming across this particular species, this unique alien, species, but that kind of played the back seat. If anything, they even play a side seat. But a fascinating, funny episode. an episode like what a comical episode like this, I'm happy to have maybe one or two a season. I think they went a bit over the top with how much comedy we did get this season, but this was at least the first one. I did enjoy it. I'll go with you, Mike and Adam. What do you think?
Well, so yeah, Chapel did she space Karen on those aliens and ask to speak to the manager?
That
I
was the
think
whole
so.
point of the episode.
It did kind of feel like this was their
yellow.
way. Felt like this was their way of washing their hands of T'Pring for now.
Yeah.
But she comes back in the original series, right?
Mm.
So
I would have to agree with Sam. I Ethan Peck made me really fall in love with this version of Spock. I think his acting this entire season or show even is just really phenomenal. He's both funny, he's both just your classic Spock.
he was lost on
And
Sam Kirk.
He lost it on Kirk. And
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that turned into a big
That was
meme.
great.
I mean,
yeah.
And then that continues on. That's how he gets
And-
introduced to James.
and then talking about the other funny part, bacon. What is this? I love bacon.
You love bacon.
Oh, well, the other thing I was going to say.
And I love that about Pike too. He's just like the chef. He's always cooking, and like
Mhm.
every scene that he's in his in his
It's better than that
quarters.
synthesized shit.
Yeah,
Literally.
That's right.
it's really good.
They did this to Tuvok though, on Voyager. Remember, he loses his memories and is besties with Neelix for a day. Crickets? No.
I can't. I'm sorry, I forgot. But what this made me also realize was how disingenuous Vulcans are. They can't help but want, in a way, they like to come across as logical, but really what they want to do is shit on people,
I
shit
wouldn't-
on people all the fucking time.
I wouldn't say
You
they're
know what I mean?
disingenuous. I would say that they're genuous bunch of
They're-
shitheads. Like they're genuous a bunch of dicks.
Wow.
Like
I don't know.
Yeah, no, they're definitely. You say
No.
disingenuous. It's like that's like them being very happy, like, but they're not actually like very like put off by
Look,
you, but they're acting
I'll
happy.
say disingenuous, like because Spock made some food. The Vulcan dad liked it. And the Vulcan mom said, "No, you don't. You don't fucking like it." They were disingenuous. They had to shit
So
on.
the dad was
on-
disingenuous. Okay, so
No, the dad liked it, but the mum had to remind him, "Look, you got to dislike it."
Mhm.
So the dad was being genuine, and the
Yeah,
and
then-
the
then-
mom
and
was
then he
making
became-
her. Them,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
So they both ended up being
Oh, God.
disingenuous. So in that particular sense, because the dad went against what he initially thought. So yeah, and the mum would just say, "Look,
Well,
we have
I was
to
gonna
these guys constantly."
I was gonna say one other point that I liked about this episode was we kind of got to see the really heartbreaking part of how Spock's mom, who is a human, really have to live out her entire life of like hiding her true self
Yep.
because she was
Or not being
and
able
that
to
was
live up to those standards.
exactly because that her whole culture was like you're a filthy human kind of thing. So that and having to
And the
sit
human smell. and
through
all of that.
and teach that to Spock to be like, this is how you hold a piping hot teapot because I buried the pain away. Smile and look cute.
Yeah.
I thought that was really
That
ingenious.
episode was not promoting human mental health.
But I just really
But-
like that characteristic too. And then if I could reach through the screen and punch T'Pring's mom, because that was like, oh, she was just a villain. That was
So
like
violent.
monster-in-law as
She was
much as
something
possible.
else.
If that didn't end their relationship, I don't know what would have.
Yeah.
Well, and then they do all that deception for them just to say, "Oh, well, I did all this, and look, I'm human." Why? That felt like they sold the ruse, and then he gave it up at the end. I felt like that was a mistake. That keeps it from me.
All right.
I don't know. I'm gonna give my
let's see.
opinions. This is the exact this is the same thing of the last episode, just different. Like this was a very forgettable episode for me, but it was kind of like the last episode was forgettable but serious. This episode is forgettable but funny. Yes, there were one or two points where I did laugh at the whole fish. I still consider it a fish out of water thing with Spock being human. He's like, out of his element being all human instead. The alien race was lazy. Like that, doing like you said, the telemarketer IT department type thing.
Yeah.
We have fixed your time period to it. It's like, really? Like, can we just put a headset on one of these aliens and just call it what it is? Okay. Like, for real. All it needs is, like the Indian accent. We got it all, man. I mean, come on.
I can do that, my friend.
I know you can do that.
You know? Can I
But
help you, please? Okay.
but yeah, I mean, and the whole Chapel Spock thing, again, this is another example of where I'm like, okay, this is a different timeline. Who cares? I do like Nurse Chapel. And in the coming episodes, we're going to see why this just never was ever going to work because of the reworked Chapel. You know what I mean? Like the new Chapel in this show just was not going to work with Spock. And I think they realized it early on. And that's why they kind of maybe getting it over with. You know what I mean? Like the whole Spock Chapel thing. Now they're kind of moving on after this season. But yeah, I mean, I do like Ethan Peck as Spock. I do like what's her face? Why can't I remember her name? I used to know her name. As Nurse Chapel, but the parents were typical Vulcans. Just I don't know.
Typical Vulcans around humans.
Very strict. Yep, very strict.
I just, the only thing that came out of this that I liked was the fact that T'Pring also hates her mom. I thought that was hilarious.
I thought,
I love it when they come in, she gets off the pad and he's just like, he's doing all the traditional stuff. She's like, I really want to forego tradition at this very moment because my mom is right behind me, basically. And I'm like, yeah, that tracks. That's great.
And Chapel basically turned down working with the Vulcans initially at the end.
Yeah, and Spock's mom kind of coming up to bat too, and I thought that was pretty good too.
Yeah, no, I did. There were parts of this episode I enjoyed. I'm not saying I hated it. This is another one that's still kind of forgettable for me, but it still had some moments in it, like the last like episode 4.
Shepard.
I like the part when Spock was in sick bay and he kind of looked at the mirror and his ears wasn't pointing and he said, "What the F?" And I'm like, "Oh, really?" That was pretty good at that moment there. And of course, Spock was trying to figure out how to remain as a Vulcan versus a human, and with the wedding stuff going on and with all the other people, he went into the other room and putting his feet up like, dang, yeah, just yelling and screaming almost like because he was so frustrated. I mean, it was just crazy. But that's the parts that I like about the whole episode. And Nurse Chapel got in the shuttle, went back to the aliens, and coaxed them to change him back.
No, you used the wrong word. It's Karen'd him back.
Still.
Hey, that's
It's still changed back. They gave him a shot, and of course, we didn't see him being transferred back to Vulcan again. But the next episode, he did. But it just shows that how much that she cared about him.
Personally, in a cashless society, why the hell would she want to fucking work with Vulcans? They're a bunch of fucking sarcastic cunts.
Yeah, they just remind me of the British. I mean, really.
I can see that.
So it made no sense. So have you guys seen Rush Hour, the first one?
A long time ago.
I mean, it's been a minute.
Remember, like Chris Tucker's character, the whole time he wants to get into the FBI, and at the very end, he gets an opportunity to go with the FBI, and he tells you, "Fuck you guys, I'm LAPD." That's what I felt with fucking Nurse Chapel. She told the Vulcans after she told them about her thing with those aliens and how she managed to turn Spock back. She said, "Fuck yeah," and they were willing to take her on after that. She said, "Fuck you guys. I'm fucking Starfleet," and I thought, yeah, badass. Fuck those Vulcans. All right. Time to market. I'm gonna give this episode this was a really good comical episode, and it had me laughing to the rafters. Ethan Peck performance was great. Like I said, this was the first of several comical episodes. So at the time, I wasn't expecting so much comedy from season 2, but nevertheless, I enjoyed this particular episode being the first of this comedy thing. So I gave it an 8 out of 10. Captain Shepard,
Big
You're
fat
giving
10.
it a
Big
10.
fat 10. I loved it.
great performance by Peck as well, and everything.
yes.
It was. It had me laughing so much, and
Yes.
it done its job for what it was. Star Trek
Yes.
does do comedy here and there,
Oh yeah.
and this was one of them. So Mike and Adam.
I give it an 8.
Adam says an 8. I'm gonna give it a 9.
There you go.
Hi, Marks. All right, on to episode 6. We're on to the second half of the season now. Cheetah's not marking it.
Go back and watch our episodic reviews.
The Grinch has
one
come
in the
early
comment
this
section is helping me
year.
out. I don't know what his reviews were.
I will rank the season as a whole when we get to the end.
All right. Lost in translation, Uhura seems to be the only one who can hear a strange sound. When the noise triggers terrifying hallucinations, she enlists an unlikely assistant to help her track down the source. All right, I'll start with you, Shepard. What did you think of this episode?
That one there is a little bit vague for me. You got some more
You remember?
information on that one?
This is the one where we saw Hema as a ghostly figure, and
All that one there when she was seeing him and he was trying to help her get through stuff and that. Yeah.
They were doing some. They were like
Killing
taking the gas away from these clouds, and they was killing these aliens that weren't coming on the scale.
Yeah, that's the one where they started singing and everything.
No, not the singing one.
Okay.
Not the singing one, dude. The one where they were taking this gas, and there was an alien species that is.
They were taking the gas to power the ships, and they were killing
the nacelles opened up, and they were absorbing the dust.
And Kirk was in this episode as well, quite a bit.
Yeah.
He was
our
helping.
favorite engineer. Was number 1.
Yeah.
It was an interesting one. I only have seen that video, that thing once, so I kind of a little vague on it. But yeah, I mean, the gas and that, trying to get they're just trying to get the refinery online so they can extract the gas for the starships. Basically, what the whole thing was all about.
Well, we had them on that other spaceship where Hocus Pocus was doing some engineering shit, and they had to destroy that, I believe, at the end.
Yeah, and they had to destroy because they found out they're killing the species in the gas.
Yeah.
They didn't want to do that.
Hey,
that's
Captain,
why the station kept breaking down.
You have to destroy the platform and go against your orders.
Yes.
And then
we have a comment for you, by the way, Shepard. Captain Shepard, tell me about the Reapers.
Reapers.
I was going to say that at the very beginning.
No comment for you. Sorry, boss man. All right, Cheeto.
It's Mass Effect. You ever play Mass Effect?
Vaguely. I played the first one for a bit.
The Reapers are from Mass Effect, and the captain of in the Mass Effect series was Captain Shepard. So.
Yeah. Okay, and now
there's
I do
a tie
remember
in there. So he's talking about the Reapers.
Yeah.
That were great.
Okay, I thought you were talking about chili peppers. Anyway, Cheeto, let me know. Let me know what's going on with this episode.
Okay. So I thought this was a good episode. It was an Uhura-centric episode, which you said. We got Kirk back. We got Pike promoted temporarily to Fleet Admiral Fleet Captain. Sorry, Fleet Captain. So he was in charge of the Farragut and the Enterprise. It was again the engineer. Una, I'm glad Una was putting her in her place.
A couple times.
Yeah. Spock and Chapel. I mean, I do kind of like the fact in this episode that Spock and Chapel's relationship was just like, it was just under the radar a bit at this point, just because it's like we're all working together, so they're not like wanting to make it this big, like to do, at least right now. Well, not later, but right now. And just watching La'an struggle with the whole fact that James Kirk is not the James Kirk she knows. And again, I have to say the standout of this season has got to be La'an. And I was trying to look up her name. I can't. Then I got interrupted with my own ADHD
We just saw
brain.
it. We just saw that with Will Wheaton.
I know,
Wheaton.
but I don't remember what it is.
I'll figure it out here in a minute. But anyway, but no, good episode. I gave it above average marks. I think when we ranked it during the episode.
Christina Chong.
Christina
That's it.
Chong, yes.
Mark Adam?
Here you go.
I forgot a lot about this episode, to be
Okay.
honest.
Same here.
I had to be refreshed a couple of times.
You might have fallen asleep.
This may have been one of those ones where you played back to back, and I was out for a good portion of it.
Yeah.
I do remember. I think this is the episode that La'an confesses her love for the past version of in the time warpy.
I thought that was episode 9
Oh, that's the finale. Okay, so
or the finale. Yeah.
yeah,
What was
a
it?
6. Like it did a good premise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just hey, this thing's happening and we're here. We're, typical Star Trek. There's a problem, we're doing the thing, let's do the thing. Yeah, it was a good episode for La'an and Kirk. But not all that memorable, I suppose.
Yeah. Star Trek has like tropes at times, and this is one of them where we come across an alien species that is not really
Non-corporeal is the word you're looking for.
Thank you.
That's a
And
big word.
That happens during the news.
and we've seen this in previous seasons of Star Trek, and this one is no different. And it was interesting how it was done and how it was portrayed. We saw the other Starfleet officer who kind of went mad. He was getting these visions as well, but he couldn't really comprehend them, and it drove him insane. And he ended up trying to kill people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And a similar thing was happening to Uhura, but then she started making sense of the visions and started putting them together.
The Enterprise saved the day.
And seeing Hemmer come back as well. I mean, wow, what an engineer. Like, for him to be killed off in season 1 is I mean, look, I can totally understand certain characters being killed off because they will have to get replaced by the more legacy characters who come in the future if this is a similar timeline to the one it's portraying in TOS. But to kill him off in the first season is a joke. It's a tragedy.
That was a George R. R. Martin move right there.
A blind Andorian, a disabled Starfleet, senior officer like him is such a nice thing, a nice thing to have. And I've already charged it in advance.
It's time for him to take his meds.
Yeah, and to go down this particular route kind of reminded me, I miss Hemmer a lot, and you should never have killed him off. That's what I got from this episode. That's really what I got from this episode. So,
I mean, really, they should have waited till season 3 to kill him off during the Gorn, what the Gorn conflict, rather than just killing him off in like episode 9 of season 1. Like, I agree with you on that one.
Yeah. All right, so time to mark it. I'm going to give this one. This is quite an average episode for me. I didn't think it was bad, but I didn't think it was great either. So I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Shepard?
I give it a 6.
I give it a 6 as well.
Yeah. I agree.
All right. Fair enough. Okay, on to episode 7. This is the episode everyone was looking forward to this season.
Mm-hmm.
Those old scientists. An accident while investigating a time portal sends Ensign Brad Boimler through time from the 24th century, and Captain Pike and his crew must get him back where he belongs before he can somehow alter the timeline. Well, a lot of people were looking forward to this episode. Oh, sorry. Go on, Mike.
I,
Go ahead. I apologize.
I absolutely love Boimler. I love Lower Decks.
Yeah.
And so the crossover for me, I'll give you it's clear 10. 10's across the board. I love Boimler so much, and them both to be in this episode the whole crew pretty much of Lower Decks to be there that got kind of pushed into this, I thought was fun. There there are times where his being so eccentric as Boimler is got on Pike's nerve a lot.
Oh yeah.
So like I'm waiting to hear
Space Dad.
Cheeto and Xander both be like, that's why I didn't like this episode. But I thought it was just comical. That's just your typical Boimler running around, being eccentric, causing chaos. And it brought them to life. I feel like it canonized them, instead of just being like, oh, well, that's just the cartoons. They're not real. They brought them in essentially being like, this is a real universe. See? So I love that cast. My Star Trek Online game is Boims.
We're both Boims. We are the transporter accident.
Yes, we're the two different versions of Boimler. That's what I had to say about the episode. It was funny. There was a lot of comical scenes. He got on Pike's nerve a lot, but we had a good overarching story, and I felt fun with it.
Okay, I'll go next. Just so you understand that I actually love this episode. I am the biggest sucker for crossovers. I love a good crossover.
Such a good one too. Such a good one.
I'm always a fan of that. I appreciate two different shows coming together in one. I love that shit so much. It rewards people who are faithful to different stuff to appreciate what we did with them watching, because it just in that particular way loved it. Performances as well by Boimler and Mariner, fantastic. I really felt that they were live action versions of their animated characters. Little moments when Boimler's running away doing that power walk run and stuff like that, and just being across the fuck up. But at the same time, the very end of this episode, where they had that resolution with the Orions, was so Star Trek. It really was. Even though it gave us all those moments of humor, it gave us those Star Trek moments as well of diplomacy and reward and all of that. It was beautiful. It almost just seeing the emotion in that Orion almost brought a tear to my fucking eye. It really did. It was great. It was really great. This is arguably the best episode of the season, regardless of being. Even though I've had my problem with comedy all the time, this still, for what it is on its own, is arguably the best episode of this season. I loved it. This is a reward for being a Star Trek fan when you watch an episode like this. So yeah,
it was almost the whole point of I forget her name in Lower Decks, but the Orion.
Mariner?
Tendi, yeah, Tendi. Her whole arch or her whole story is to be like, not all Orions are evil, not all Orions are bad.
Yeah.
And then for them to be like,
pirates,
they're scientists. No, they're not. They have to be pirates. Trust us, Captain. And then it's like, see, and then they really appreciated that at the end, and that sets up Tendi's like whole timeline, almost like her whole family going on from that point. Yeah.
Cheetah.
I really hate to disappoint you guys, but I really love this episode.
Prove me wrong again.
I mean, so here's the thing. I've always said about Lower Decks is that it's loose canon. Like, if you don't take it too seriously, it can still be canon. Like, some people will nitpick it, and it's like Lower Decks you can't nitpick. Like, as long as they stay true to the basic format, like, and to the basic canon, like, you can forgive a little bit here and there, because it's just it's almost like these are the voyages of Enterprise. Did Trip really die? It's kind of a holographic recreation. But anyway, so I no, this really did bring a lot of the characters to life. There were so many good moments in this episode. I mean, the lower deckers are always, and I was one of those, not naysayers, but I was concerned because I'm like, how are they going to translate this? Like, is this going to translate well? Because you've got lower decks that are super goofy, super animated, and they made it work. And I even love the fact that the Strange New Worlds cast were like when Mariner and Blemler got together and they were talking, and even I think it was it La'an or Una who looked at Spock and said, "Is it weird that there's references are so specific?" And then Spock,
Yeah.
No.
So I really enjoy this episode. This is one of those episodes that it's like it's just good. Like, you can't even say it's good Trek. It's just good.
And then you have Mariner being like, Una, he has a poster of you in his bedroom, in his personal quarters. Oh, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Yep.
Shepard.
Typical lower deck people, touch stuff that they don't understand, get sucked into a time tunnel thing, and become a real human with purple hair still. That was the good part I liked about the episode. And he got in a sick bay, and he says, "I know you, I know you, I know this." And I mean, he knew everything, of course, because he's from the future. But at the end of the episode, even the Strange New World people came into a cartoon. And Spock,
I like that.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
They were drinking that real Orion juice.
Orion.
The Mariner cocked up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Orion ships. The first time I seen a round ship of lights all the way around the circle. That was kind of a little fun too.
All right, time to mark it. You gonna give it a 10, Shepard?
10.
Yeah. Let's give it a big fat sausage 10, as Cheetah would say.
Sausage fingers, baby. Those big 10 sausages.
There's no disappointing part.
No, because their solution was they needed the alloy that was in the old ship, the previous Enterprise.
Yes.
I thought that meant they're going to go to the Fleet Museum and show off the Enterprise NX like they did in Picard.
That was actually one of the points that I did give this one a 9 out of 10. And the reason why was because they didn't go back and look at that NX-01. A very blatant lower deck style moment where Blemler and Mariner could have stole a shuttle and go and get the NX-01 and get some of that, of whatever the alloy was off of it.
Right.
It was a perfect lower decks moment, where we could have gotten them doing that. And that's the only thing I knocked it for during my review. I remember that clearly.
As Mariner said, "You didn't tell me young Spock was so hot."
Oh yeah, he is.
It was good though. I liked it.
I don't know what I marked it before, whether it was 8, 9, or 10.
It's
but I'm giving
one
it
that
right
I
here.
would go back and rewatch.
Oh yeah,
definitely. But this time around, right here, right now, Fatboy Slim, I'm giving it a 10.
Yeah,
I'm giving it a 10.
There we go.
It's a 10. It's the best episode.
Not 10.
Well, I think last comment I'll say about it too is we just talked about how the last 3 episodes were very non-memorable. This was the episode that made
Remember the contrast
this season memorable, and that in the song one. But it's just those 2 episodes I feel like made the season, and they were is what brought I feel like a lot of people to be like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for that episode to come out, the crossover.
Remember the contrast though between La'an's time travel and Boimler's time travel.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so on to episode 8. So this is the episode that there's a lot of dispute between us at the time.
Oh, I was about to say this was the decisive
comedy to
one.
serious.
And
Under the cloak of war.
Yeah, under the cloak of war, Captain Pike and his crew welcome a Klingon defector aboard the Enterprise, but his presence triggers revelations of some shocking secrets. Ooh. I'll start with you, Captain Shepard. What do you think of this episode?
It was a crazy looking Klingon there a little bit, but
Uncle Phil with ridges.
Yeah, he had a lot of freaking ridges, I'll tell you that.
Uncle Phil was a Klingon in Enterprise.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, I mean, he defected so he can help out the Federation and try to do right where he did wrong. As we heard that before. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. And of course, a couple of people, the doctor and church, a chapel, didn't really like the guy too much because they was in the war with the guy. So that brought up a lot of bad memories. And I couldn't figure out why that the doctor had his little box and he had the dagger in the case. And of course, the ambassador went and talked to him, and all of a sudden he gets stabbed. So that's about it on that one.
Well, that's a summary of the episode, pretty much.
That's the highlights.
Yeah.
Yep, pretty much.
Chia?
I really like this episode. There were some things to it, but I felt like that, and I don't even remember his name at this point, but I thought the diplomat Klingon got his comeuppance at this point.
Yeah.
I feel like that it's kind of like the episode of DS9 in season 1 where there's a Cardassian on DS9 and he claims to be Golovec, I think it is, and he was a serious war criminal. And although in that episode, yes, like it turns out that is not Golovec, it's somebody who's claiming to be, but he's like, he wanted Golovec to, and I'm probably saying the name wrong, but he wanted him to pay for his crimes because he felt so much guilt. So, right. And then when Kira realized this, she was able to rise above it and actually move past her trauma, but, and eventually one of the Bajorans killed him because they still thought he was Golovec. And she's just like, it wasn't him.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite episodes in season 1 of Deep Space Nine, maybe season 2, but I want to say it was the end of season 1.
Yeah.
And this episode is similar, not the same, obviously, but whereas this Klingon who was not only a horrific person, but a coward on top of that. Well, not a person, he's a Klingon, but still a Pingon. There we go. He's a horrific Pingon. He's a person Klingon. I don't know. Listen, just let me roll with it. So,
boo.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, I really felt like that this was a good episode. Now, we started the whole discussion of, is M'Benga a anti-hero or is he a bad person or a villain? Is he because he killed him? And it's like, well, no. If let's put the Punisher in M'Benga's shoes. Punisher would have killed the Klingon without a second thought if he knew his past. So, and everybody says Punisher's an anti-hero. So I would state that, is M'Benga like this great person? Is he an altruistic person? No, but did he do what's right? I kind of feel that way.
Yeah. And of course they called him the Butcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was trying to remember that earlier.
Before I give it to our lovely duo, this episode, it was that dark, depressing episode that Star Trek likes to do now and again, and I wasn't necessarily feeling it. It was good to know that those Klingon wars that happened in the first season of Discovery, they brought that shit back, and they remind us that within this universe these things happen. It was good to see Clint Howard play somebody who wasn't a fucking weirdo for once in his life. That was also pretty cool. I wasn't happy with the resolution. This guy's supposed to be a defector, and M'Benga kills him, and M'Benga's the one with the problem here, in my opinion, because this guy is bad, but he was bad. He was fighting for the team, but he has defected, and he's supposed to be an ally of the Federation, and they've done themselves no favors by killing this guy, and there's no repercussions for killing this guy. It's like life will just go on.
Yep.
And all of these things just didn't work well for me. So I have no problems with dark, dreary episodes, but this episode, the execution of it wasn't that great. Mike and Adam.
I agree with Sam.
I would also agree with that too.
The way that M'Benga ends up killing the defector it just that was the predictable ending.
Yeah.
So it was disappointing.
Well, and then Nurse Chapel also kind of like, oh yeah, totally self-defense. And it was like
I mean,
also
it was.
she-
He started
she
the
was
fight.
there to protect her friend.
He
He
did.
started the tussle. He really did. He put laid
He
hands
did,
on it
but
and
why-
first.
He put his hand on his shoulder. That doesn't require you to kill a man. You know
If
what I
that was
mean?
a
Yeah.
reasonable
But he
ending,
wouldn't
then
back
that
off.
makes Pike look bad.
That
Because
still doesn't
Pike should
require you
have
to
had
kill a
security.
man. Like, where did it go for you to? What level? I mean, like he's trying to break bread, make peace with Mbenga, and Mbenga is looking for any reason to kill this guy. In my opinion,
I mean, I think Mbenga was well within his rights to kill him within Klingon law.
Hey, Daniel, what's up?
yeah, within Klingon law,
So,
but he's working for
What I'm
Starfleet,
hearing
and
is
and
that-
and he. Sorry, go on, Adam.
no, you go.
I was going to quickly read this comment here. Salutations and greetings, you beautiful nerd surgery today. So I'm going to look from bed. Daniel Vance is the
you go.
greatest nerd fan of all time, by the way. Sorry, Adam. Please
No,
continue.
what I'm hearing is all of this is to say it's a lack of leadership from Pike because he shouldn't have tried to make Mbenga take the high road. He should have given
100%
this guy
agree with that.
security or said, hey, we're going to have a nice dinner and host you on the Enterprise. But other than that, stay in your quarters. We'll get you there as soon as we can.
I mean, you can't really confine someone to their quarters unless they're
We're not
arrested.
confine them, but he
but-
should have had his own detail. It
I
made
agree.
no sense if you have you have veterans of this war on the ship, so don't force them to do things they don't want to do,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
make sure your guest who's not welcomed on the ship is protected. So it felt like a throwaway episode because it was this serious flashback to the war, which is really a good story because we didn't get to see them in Discovery.
Right.
But at the end of the episode, it was a throwaway because they just tossed this Klingon defector in the trash.
Yeah.
When he should have either faced justice or he should have survived and gone on to do whatever.
I did say in my review that this episode was a low point for Captain Pike as a captain.
Yeah, very low.
Yeah, I mean that
So
I
many
will 100%
things,
agree
yeah.
with.
Yeah.
So many things like with Ortega, she's already spoken out. I mean, she got caught bitching about the Klingon guy as he walked in on her in the bridge, and she didn't even fucking hear the door opening. I mean, ridiculous. But nevertheless, she should never have been invited to that dinner. One of the things that always pisses me off about Star Trek is that there's a crew of like a couple of hundred people on the Enterprise, but it seems to be the same fucking motherfuckers who are always gathered together. It's always the cast members. So in my opinion, that dinner should have had maybe different people in there. What the fuck is Ensign Uhura doing there? Ensign Uhura. Ortega, you're the best pilot we got. Get your ass back on the fucking bridge and pilot the goddamn ship. And maybe we can get a couple of other crew members.
Right.
You can't pilot the ship 24/7, Zam. She's got to have some time off.
Yeah.
Okay, then fine. She shouldn't be
Eric
the
Ortega's
God,
trying to fly the ship.
Look, you complain about Elon Musk being a workhorse and not giving his people breaks. Zam's like, excuse me, Ortegas, you need to stay on the bridge.
Kidding.
Just
Damn
put
right.
her on
She compared to
autopilot. Give
Elon
her a
Musk.
break.
I fucking hate that man beyond belief, but never. You know,
And yet you are acting just like him.
My point is, there are other members of the crew who could be at that dinner who are not necessarily the cast members, and it'd be nice to see those moments because it's always the same. And this has always been my problem with Star Trek. Like, there's a big fucking ship here, and it's always the same motherfuckers, and shit like that pisses me off.
Well, don't forget,
but nevertheless,
there's the bridge crew. We noticed this in the musical episode where there's the bridge crew, there's Ortegas, and then there's the girl who sits next to Ortegas.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
gets
you can
no
win.
no
lines.
lines.
is it
No
Mitchell?
lines. She just sits there next to Ortega the entire season. You're just like, who is she?
Who are you?
Oh,
Mitchell.
well,
I think.
you only get
I
the
think her
same
name is
six
Mitchell.
people.
And
Yeah, I
the
think
funny
she's-
thing is, in
She's
that
a gender
episode, she's a
swap
pilot.
from the original series, I think, before Chekhov came on the bridge, I think.
And the funny thing is, she's a pilot as well. But in that episode, she was fucking promoted to bartender.
I
Because she
think
was
she's
working.
a navigator. In space, there's a difference between a pilot and a navigator. A navigator is somebody who like sets courses and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas Ortegas would probably be more in charge of actual like maneuvering of the
She's-
ship.
Yeah, fair enough.
The
Fair
only points that I wanted to make before we move on with this episode was just I thought this was their way of doing PTSD and kind of really explaining like war. We were taught to kill these people or fight these people and all the horrific things that the Klingons did and killed all these people. And then it's like war's over. All right, now you have to do peace. And I think that is what they were trying to portray at the dinner table.
No, the
Of being
PTSD.
like, hey, the people that you were taught to kill and fight, well, don't do that anymore because you're at peace. I get that because that was you saw the doctor clinging onto to the table, and Ortega had to excuse herself because she was going on a tangent, and then you got to see Nurse Chapel's
Maybe
whole
this
thing.
is why by TNG era every ship has their own counselor.
Oh yeah, maybe
Deanna Troi would have prevented that whole thing from happening.
So I think it was just trying to be like everybody was on the edge of their seats because they were this horrific PTSD kept bringing them back, and Pike did not do a good job at handling it. I would agree that I do not like that you had the defector. It's like, did he do war crimes? Yes. Is he completely innocent? Of course not. But he still is trying to help the Federation and or right his wrongs.
Right.
Not to say that like, okay, that completely, A-okay, he's a good person now. No, but he's still helping the Federation. He can still be evil and go and kill more Federation people. But no, he defected. He's trying to be like, I'm sorry. What I did was wrong. Now he might have edged on the doctor, and that last little fight scene there. Okay, maybe he edged it on himself, whatever. But at the point, and again, to move on from this episode, it's just I didn't like that ending. It was just like you killed a defector that was trying to help the Federation. Wrong, right is wrongs, and
the universe has a way of taking out the trash.
Oh yeah, you got that right.
By the way, I want to highlight this comment really quick. Daniel Vance says, Mike Mitchell, the one we were talking about earlier, who sits beside and says nothing. She's gender swapped from the one that becomes a god being and fights next to James R. Kirk's tombstone. Whoever James R. Kirk is. We don't know who James R. Kirk is. But that it was supposed to be James T. Kirk's.
James T. Yes, there was.
But that was before he had a middle name of Tiberius. So, I mean, the R must be silent in Tiberius. At the beginning.
He could have done this, but a typo because R and T are next to each other on the keyboard. Anyway, time to mark this episode. I'm going to give this episode a low mark. Unfortunately, this episode didn't work for me for various reasons, so I'm going to give it a
typo.
If you're talking about Daniel Vance doing a typo. No, it was. No. That's what the tombstone said in the original series. It said James R. Kirk, and then they retconned that to James T. Kirk in the movies or in TOS. I don't remember. Anyway, go ahead, Sam.
TOS.
3 out of 10. Captain Shepard.
3 out of 10, you said?
Yeah.
Oof.
I'll give it a 4 then. I mean, I really didn't like that guy the way he was touching the doctor, and the doctor didn't want to be there.
Yeah,
I wouldn't invite people to a dinner to force them there. That to me, that was wrong. So that's why I would give it a 4.
Mike, Adam,
I'm going to say I'm going to give it a little bit higher, not because I disagree with anything that we talked about, but because it's a memorable episode.
Well, it is.
Like some of the other episodes this season that we've given ranks to have been like, whatever happened, it happened.
Oh, it's because
right?
you stayed away.
But like this one, I feel like at least had a point that you're angry about. So I'm still going to give this a 5. I'm going to give this a solid 5. It could even be a 6 in my
solid 5.
But
the ratings for you should only be: did I stay awake or did I fall asleep?
Was it memorable?
Either or.
Musical. So
that's not entirely true.
You did.
Yes, that's not.
I was going to give it a 5. Also, Captain Pike needs to know what's going on his ship.
Yep.
Yeah,
you're right.
Bad leadership.
He's responsible.
So, Mike, it's really only memorable because it's shit. It's not because so that's how we
That
look
is
at
not
memorable.
what he said. You
Captain Pike
British
needs to know what's
British
going on with
cunt
his
bucket.
ship.
It is not what he said.
Let him speak
Because-
for himself.
As we learn with the replicators, they're eating their own shit.
Okay.
What?
All right.
Three.
On to the penultimate episode now. This is the episode that a lot of people are also looking forward to, but we'll talk about this in a sec. Subspace Rhapsody, episode 9 of season 2. An accident with an experimental quantum probability field causes everyone on the USS Enterprise to break into song, but the real danger is that the field is expanding and beginning to impact other ship allies and enemies alike. All right, Cheeto.
You know what? I thought this episode was fun. I did not. I think that the execution was bad. I really or not. The premise was bad. I'm sorry, not the execution. The premise was bad. They just it just really didn't seem. I really wish they would have went about it a different way. I know in my review I kind of explained it a little bit more. So if you want to know what that is, go watch that. But yeah, I just there were definitely some issues with this episode. And if you just take it for the musical episode, fantastic. And if you loved it, fantastic. I had no problem with the singing. I had no problem with, some of the dancing and stuff like that. I'm like, why? Like, like that's where I was. Like, if you're gonna go all in on it, then go all in on it. And the parallel universe where everybody sings, it's like, okay, like it's a very weak premise in my opinion. And just I don't know. There was just a lot of issues here that just I was not on board with. But a standalone fun episode and it was better than the CW episode the Flash episode where everybody was singing. So
Okay, before
That's
I pass it on, some comments here from Rick B, who's not a C. I can't stay, but I wanted to say the whole session.
was shite.
That's why you say it. All right.
Well, I think it was
Get rid of Alex Kurtzman and Akiva Goldman.
By the way, guys, this is Rick Berman. This is Rick Berman in our chat. He comes in here every now and then. He keeps on telling us to get rid of Alex Kurtzman because Rick Berman is just mad that Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek is better than his. Just saying.
Rick B, the musical episode was so cringe. My 15-year-old son was like, "What the fuck is this shit?" No,
that's because 15-year-olds now don't know what the fuck
Ah!
anything is. I literally have a 16-year-old. Give me a fucking break. And Berman, you're too old. Rick Berman, you're too old to have a 15-year-old kid, you liar.
All right, I'm going to start off with this episode by talking about it. This episode. Oh, sorry. Okay, my bad. I'll go next then. So for me, this episode. let me.
Everyone cut off Zam.
Maybe it's Nebula causing interference.
You can't hear Zam anyway because he sounds like Mike Wazowski, the engineer.
Smoked my entire life.
This episode was a disappointment.
So Zam,
okay, this episode was a disappointment for me because the way the musical went was not the direction I wanted it to go. It was all about these relationships between Pike and his fuck buddy, and Spock and Chapel, and Leon and Kirk. I didn't give a fuck about that. There's this shit going on with the Klingons, and it would really have been good to see a musical standoff between the Federation and the Klingons, communicating through musicals. But no, they went down this fucking relationship route, which was so fucking shit.
It's a musical trope, is what it's a
yeah. And I really didn't like that for that reason alone, and I couldn't wait for this episode to be over. It was stupid, and once again, like this was our third comedy episode this season. It was just one too many. It really was. It was just a little bit too much, and
And just to be clear, we don't have a problem with it being a musical episode. We have a problem with the way it was presented and the basis of it.
Yeah, exactly. This should have been left for season 3. It was one too many of the craziness that we've had this season, and they should have left it for next season and put maybe a more generic episode this season before the finale, in my opinion. So that's how I feel about it. I'll go with you, Mike and Adam.
Would it have made more sense to have this as the two-parter to the
Two-part musical?
episode?
No.
No, as in they were the reason. I agree that the reason for it being a musical was kind of flimsy, and I agree. It would have been. I would have liked to have seen it as a like a battle of the bands versus just we're all randomly singing. Some of it was catchy though, and
I had no
I'm
problem
going
with the
to-
songs.
I'm going to disagree with both what Adam just said and Sam.
Uh-oh.
I feel that if we had had a battle of the bands and you had more of the Klingon singing, I think you'd have all of the old Trekkie fans going, absolutely not.
true.
Klingons don't sing. This is
they
awful.
gave us 10 seconds of boy band Klingon.
I think the whole point of that was that the Klingons coming in at the very end and having that little finale. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, that was funny as heck.
And they made the Klingons like a K-pop band.
Yeah.
And it went from like, I'm going to kill you. And you're like, what?
It was funny.
I burst out laughing. That was so good.
And
You're
also,
laughing at this
let's
comment
be
as well.
clear: Klingons do sing. Klingons have war shanties and war songs and everything like that. So it's not the
point. The whole fact was that it was
They don't
trying
have
to.
K-pop.
It was trying to be like a funny episode, and I definitely got that point. Do I agree that the premise was a little laughable? Yeah, it's not the best. But if you tried to put this entire season on a bar, I know we haven't gotten to the final episode yet, but if you put this entire season on a bar, there really isn't an overarching storyline. More as like there's just a couple episodes that are very memorable. It makes you fall in love with the cast, and I think this episode did that. I think it was funny. I think it made you be like, oh, it's very comical, and the music wasn't the greatest, but it still was like fun to watch them dance and sing. And you can't say this about any other Trek because this is a first, and I think that also gets new Trek fans to come in and be like, wow, this is fun. Is this what Star Trek is like? And it gets like a new generation people interested in Trek. So that's what I have to say. I really enjoyed it. Cheeto, go.
No, I just want to say that nobody, as I said, me and Sam have both said that we didn't have a problem with the songs. Like the songs themselves were good and everything like that.
The premise. I get it.
We lost Boone. But the thing is I would, how I would have fixed this episode? I would have made this next season's Lower Decks Strange New Worlds crossover episode. I feel like
that would have been cool.
Okay, I agree with you.
I feel like that would have made.
I agree with you. The premise was not the best. Like the whole weird nebula that forced them to sing. I think that was
it's the typical. Weak. Hey, there's a thing over here. We're doing things to it. Oh no!
Yeah,
we have to save the day.
That was like the telemarketer god alien thing.
Right.
That was earlier in the season. It was like, oh, we just have a weird nebula that's forcing us to sing. Again, the premise there is very weak, but the entire episode itself is very memorable. It was funny and whatnot. Does it deserve a 10? Maybe not. Oh, no. I'm going to give it at least another 9. I made me really like the cast again. I thought it was fun, and you got to see more of Uhura kind of come to light in this episode too.
You just call her Uhura?
Uhura.
Okay.
Uhura. Wow.
Ensign Uhura.
Wow.
Okay, well, I'm dying to hear what Captain Shepard has to say about this episode.
No, we had a close lightning, so it must have struck something because it knocked me off the internet. Damn.
It started raining here.
Oh, it's pouring over here. It's pouring like crazy out here. As you know, Lieutenant Uhura was trying to expand the communications, and the lady engineers suggested, how about a song or something? So when they sent it out, they was next to that big old cloud. And that big
I thought Uhura made the suggestion.
And that big old cloud, I think, was the reason why they started singing. because it was making them sing.
Now we lost Sam.
Yeah,
What the hell is going on?
storms.
What's going on?
Okay.
Sorry.
We've all moved. We've been transported.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Now every now and then,
Transporter beam.
every now and then, Melon just does this.
Yeah,
It's
Could
be
this
Melon,
weird
too, it's
thing where
hard
it
to
beats
tell.
us all off.
Scotty, beam me up.
Sorry.
Sam, I can barely
All
hear you.
available.
I don't know if your mic got messed up.
Okay, one sec.
So anyway, Boone, what else were you? I'll continue while Zam's fixing his mic.
Well, I thought
That's
Captain,
all right. I'm
Captain
good.
Shepard. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else were you saying?
No, well, I was saying that the cloud was probably the reason why they started singing, because they started breaking up. But every time when they started singing, they was trying to solve the problem. If you listen to the music and the way they was talking, they was trying to figure out why they're singing. They kept saying,
Also spilling their secrets.
yeah, exactly, and everything.
So,
But at the end and everything, Lieutenant Uhura says, well, we all have to sing to get the numbers up, and that would probably do the job, and that's what really
that felt
happened.
like a real good classic musical solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really hated that the way they went for the grand finale. I was like, oh no, and
I
like
loved it, especially with the Klingons. I love that.
See, that was so bad. That
And the
was good.
Klingons. That was the funny part. I love that.
No.
about
I
it.
laughed my ass off on that.
oh,
I never seen Klingons break down in a damn dance like
no.
that.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you.
Honestly,
could've seen
That was
of it.
good.
People
Honestly,
on
what
the
we should've-
bottom half of this computer are the only people that are valid.
Yeah.
Honestly, what we should have had if they were going to do that with the Klingons, that we should have had a bunch of people singing like a bunch of different styles. Like we should have had like we should have had like
should have had some
La'an singing like a baritone, like really low, like like if you want to do weird and wacky songs, then do weird and wacky, and then have the Klingons do K-pop, and that's fine. Like but it's like everybody kind of match their style. So except the Klingons. So I don't know. I didn't like the Klingon part. I didn't like the grand finale. I didn't like how the ships were all flying in unison and everything like that. And just oh god, no.
It was funny though. Come on.
That's because
That was
Erica
funny.
Ortega
Yeah,
fights the ship.
God
That's
damn
why.
it.
Yeah, but who flies the
Have to
Klingon
have
ships?
Fun with episodes
Klingons.
2, you old man.
We should have the battle of the bands that we should have seen was between the K-pop Klingons and the Discovery Klingons.
Yeah. It was funny as heck. I liked it.
Hello.
Dude,
Hi,
you're
Zam.
I don't know,
Oh.
man.
I
You're
barely hear you, Zam.
yeah, we can barely hear you.
What the fuck?
Get your chalkboard out and start writing.
All right, so let's move on to the main event of the evening, the season finale.
Are you
Born to be Gorn, baby. This episode, I really like this episode. This episode right here, we can still barely hear you. I mean, bring your mic closer to you. Maybe is that where's your
How about now? How about now?
a little bit better, but it's still low.
very low.
So we
How about now?
have this episode where it's very aliens like, just like the Gorn episode in the first season.
No.
And the Gorn are attacking a what is it? I don't know.
Colony outside of the Federation.
It is a colony outside the Federation, but what kind of colony was it? It was
It
a
was a small town.
small town format or something like that of a
Yeah.
colony, which we had
Mhm.
never really seen that much in any Star Trek before.
It was a cool
Normally
concept.
Mhm.
It gave me some flashbacks to my childhood.
yeah, right. So I mean, look, for them, I mean, yeah, it was very cheap for them to make, which is fine. I don't have that much of an issue because it basically felt like
Right.
Resident Evil, like the fire and all the stuff running around, like all the it felt really good. We also got to see our first adult sized Gorn. Chapel should have been dead. Let's be real, because truth be told, she's the only one who survived on that saucer section.
Yep.
Really, the plot
Yeah,
armor
that
is
was
real.
It was
There you
very
go.
cheap.
Beam over the remaining survivors.
Yeah, like it was very. The plot armor of that was very, and the whole Spock and Chapel thing, like when they beam back over, we've got time. It's like, yeah, because you guys have plot armor. That's why you have time. Now, if
because they're in
my
the-
thought during it should have been that that La'an should have been the one over on the saucer section planting the rockets. I know it doesn't make much sense per se, just because Spock needed to make the. But I felt like La'an needed that
Can you
moment
hear me?
a little bit. La'an needed that moment to like face off against that adult-sized Gorn and win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People have come out and said that the Gorn usually can breathe in space. That was an Enterprise in the Mirror universe. So I'm going to chalk that up for Mirror Gorn are different than canon Gorn. But that's just what we're saying here. So, and I really ranked this episode really high. I really thought this episode was great. It was a very tenseful episode. We got our Star Trek to be continued, which is going to be great. It also showed off the fact that Pike is not a war captain. Like he grows, and think that's because he's just not a war captain. So I'll bump it down to Mike and Adam for you guys to give your thoughts.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are.
There we go.
Much better.
I hadn't
All
considered.
right. Can you still hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
5x5.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hegemony. When the U.S. Enterprise investigates an attack on a
Remember
colony of the Age of
Explorer.
Dude, we
Federation
already
space,
covered everything.
Captain Pike and his crew face a return of a formidable enemy. I had to do my monologue, or I would have felt like it
Because
wasn't
the
funny.
previous 9 that you didn't make you feel validated enough.
Look, I needed to because it just I had to do all 10,
Herman.
or I would have felt right. Sorry, someone else continue. Well,
Sam?
I need to cough.
Okay, go ahead, guys.
All right, you go first.
I don't even know where I was. Right, Pike's not a wartime captain. He sat out the war, and he now, at the end of that episode, was just staring blankly into space, not knowing what to do, which feels different for his character, and will be exciting to see where that goes. They'll probably just snap right to it, like, "Oh, okay, we're doing all the stuff now."
I hope not. I hope Una takes over. I hope Una's like, I'm taking command.
Just starts belting out orders, and Pike just stands there, like spaced out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was different to see the different types of colonies they have. And they brought Scotty in.
Yeah.
And you get so here's your transition, hopefully, maybe for our engineer to
Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, I love that scene with them. Oh, he was my best student, but he had the worst grades. Like that sounds like Scotty.
Yep.
Well, and that's the thing, though. But if they, as I said, though, he needs to. I am hoping he is a mainstay on the show now, but he's not the chief engineer.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying having Lieutenant Kirk and the lower ranked original cast and seeing them develop.
Yeah.
But as far as this episode, I don't know what else.
I mean, just to roll off of that, I think kind of going back with it being like, I really didn't also think that I was going to like Kirk to be on the show when this is about Pike, kind of thing. And it's like, actually, I disagree. I think that I've liked him coming on the episode and watching their characters slowly develop. So now you've gotten Spock in there. You've seen Spock in his early years develop. You've seen Lieutenant Kirk in his early years. You're seeing their introduction. So I feel like we're slowly going to get their entire cast.
We will
slowly start coming back into the show, and then they're going to end it, kind of thing, and be like, there you go. Now they're taking off. Right. So I do agree that Scotty is going to be kind of now officially on the cast as one of the new engineers. I don't think they're going to get rid of Crazy Professor Lady, but I think that their duo is going to be really funny in season 3. I hope to see more of it. And that's another reason why I really liked her as a cast. As far as this episode, though, I would say that I wish we had got to see a little bit more ground fighting, more ground battle. I feel like Star Trek is always out in space battles, always space. But this would have been
It is
really
called
cool.
Star Trek.
I get that, but come on, I would like there to be like a ground battle, like them to fight off the Gorn.
But they had to be stealthy. They had to be quiet,
No, I'm
and
talking about the
they could
villagers
bring.
when
They
they
could
were
have.
defending themselves from the Gorn. Like I would have liked them to have at least cut to a little bit of them fighting back the Gorn as they went into that little restaurant that they boarded up.
No.
I honestly feel like they've leaned a little too much into the reptilian look of I
was going to ask you guys about that as
I didn't like
old Gorn versus new Gorn.
That's the guy from Spider-Man.
I would like a hybrid. I would like there to be. I mean, I know that the babies are supposed to look like little aliens or whatever, like little crotch goblins, but
xenomorphs.
Yeah,
I got very Aliens versus Predator vibes with the Gorn.
Yeah.
How they look like the face huggers. So I don't know if I really liked the new look of the Gorn per se, but you know.
And plus, they have a tail when they didn't have. Like, I understand we have to update from the original series.
Yeah.
I get it, but it's like they didn't have tails in the original series either. Really. So now that they have like a tail, like. Maybe if you say that one was like a elite kind of like a super scroll of Gorn, like an elite one that has a tail and he's super strong and he's blah blah blah, but
it could be different races of Gorn.
It could be. Some Gorn have tails, some Gorn don't.
In TOS, that they had not as much of a budget as they do today, right? So when we had Gorn, we just had a person in a freaking lizard costume walking like a robot. Fighting Kirk,
go slow.
Now being
I love that
super fast lizards.
We didn't get to see the Spock do this to the Gorn.
Double axe handle. Yeah, I want to see Lieutenant Commander Sonak, who was supposed to be the science officer before being killed in the transporter accident. Okay,
is that the motion picture?
Me too.
Yeah,
in the motion picture. Sorry, you got anything more to say, fellas? Before
I think the last thing was just going to say I really liked that it ended in a two-parter. So I'm really excited for the next season.
With new Trek.
Kurtzman this is why Rick B. This is why we love Alex Kurtzman. Kurtzman confirmed the Gorn from this episode is a subspecies from the TOS Gorn.
So they're probably like an elite style of Gorn, and that's fine. As I said, if that's what they do, that's fine because I like this conflict they're brewing with the Gorn. This is a species
the conflict.
Yeah, with Klingons, you kind of know what you're getting. They're honorable. With the Dominion, you got like the anti-Federation. You know what you're getting. This is going to be a conflict that is actually very interesting because the Gorn seem like more of a force of nature rather than like a species. It'd be interesting to find out how they got their technology. It's probably they stole it from other races that they've conquered and killed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they use people and as breeding grounds, so it's not like they probably have whole like harvest planets of, where they grow their species at. So it'd be very interesting to delve more into the Gorn, and I think the more effed up they make them, probably be better.
Before they came across other alien species, how were they breeding in the first place?
Yeah, really.
Off each other, maybe.
Could have been.
Yeah. Okay.
Weaker ones. Yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe when they found out, wow, we don't have to breed off of each other.
Well,
it is a good question, Sam.
Regarding this episode, how I felt, well, tonally, this is the sort of where I like my Strange New Worlds to be. It kind of reminded me of episode 2, the courtroom episode. It kind of reminded me of episode 4, the Among the Lotus Eaters episode. Neither trying to be super depressing or super comical. It's just right down the middle. And this episode was like that. I thought the beginning of the episode was really good because it kind of gave you a bait and switch in the way that I appreciated, because we thought we're going to be going to this western town and seeing this human colony on this western on this planet that's supposed to represent the Wild West or like the Midwest of like 50s America. But no, then the Gorn comes in and there's a whole different fucking thing going on. I love that. It was really well done. The Gorn themselves, seeing the adult Gorn, you know what? The look when I saw its face, I instantly thought to myself of the Velociraptor behind the glass in one of the Jurassic Park movies. It kind of looked like that. And yeah, I thought everything about this episode was really good. This is the sort of Star Trek I like. I'm pissed off there at the end of the cliffhanger. Star Trek are notorious for ending on cliffhangers when it comes to the end of the season. I guess with certain shows we've had recently, they haven't been ending on like cliffhangers that have to complete an episode, like Discovery, for instance. Their cliffhangers are about, okay, we're going to be going into a new season, and this is what's going to happen next season. With their cliffhanger, well, this is like an unresolved issue this season, and yeah, I'm a bit pissed off about that. I want a resolution right now, and with the actor strike going on, we might have to. It could be years, if ever, that we might get this resolution. You know, so that concerns me. But I did really like this episode. We got Scotty in this episode as well. I mean,
and
come on,
true Scotsman.
And he's a proper Scotsman. We haven't got a Canadian or an Englishman playing a Scotsman. We got an actual fucking Scotsman for once, and that is really good. Don't get me wrong, James Doohan, fantastic. Until I realised he was Canadian, I think most people would think he was Scottish. His Scottish accent, his Edinburgh Scottish accent, is fucking spot on. It really is. Nevertheless, great episode, really, really good episode of like just proper Star Trek. I loved it. You know, like edge of the seat Star Trek. Good stuff. Yeah. So, what about you, Shepard?
I like the part with small town USA, going back to a simpler time. I thought that was great. That was a good part at the beginning. Then he's seen a shuttle coming down, out of control, crashing. Then he's seen his big ass ship coming across through the sky, and like, what the hell's that?
Cut to black.
They just got ruined. But the Gorn, the new type of Gorn, I really don't like that. I do have a question though on the Gorn episode on Enterprise. Did they have the tail on that Gorn too?
I think they might have.
I was trying to think about that. I don't know if they did.
Forget about Enterprises.
But that was more like a lizard type than what we have now. Type Gorn, different type of species.
But as I said, remember that Gorn is in the mirror universe. So
yeah, it was in the mirror universe. You're right. But
it actually doesn't look like he has a tail. I'm looking at it right now.
It did, yeah.
If he does, it's a small one.
But the part with Captain Pike trying to get information, trying to rescue everybody on the planet, and the Federation is telling him get the hell out of there, and the Gorn is sending ships like crazy to try to destroy the Enterprise, and Pike's lost. He's like, I want to save all these people, but I just don't know how to do it.
Oh, that was the other point I was going to make.
Yes.
I think that you raised a point with the other episode this season where we had not really great leadership from Pike. I think this is another episode where you're not really getting good leadership from Pike.
Right.
And I'm starting to wonder, or that he's faltering. And I'm starting to wonder that if we do hopefully get more seasons, mind you, as the writer's strike goes on.
Yes.
But I do start to wonder that if maybe that is a characteristic that they're trying to do with Pike. And they're trying to show that, like, while he is really close to his crew members, under pressure, he's not really great. And maybe that's what leads to his all-timely accident. You know? So I can almost wonder if that's kind of where they're going with that.
No. I mean, just to look on his face, like he's like, I don't know what to do.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. That he's not a wartime.
Right.
He's not a wartime captain.
Yeah.
But then again, think of all the captains in DS9 that were probably lambasted when all of a sudden they're in a war with the Dominion, and they're like, "We joined up to be scientists. We did not join up to be soldiers."
Right.
And that's kind of where I think Star Trek falters with like the Makos and stuff like that. Like they should have brought the Mako. Well, they hadn't been existent yet in real life, but there should have been some kind of man. I know that you know Zam says the Starfleet officers are trained in everything. Yeah, but
right.
They're good at what is it? Good. Master. They're not masters. Something
The
of
jack of all trades
yeah,
and
jack
the
of all
masters
trades,
of
master
none.
of none. So it's like, but
Yeah.
you still need good soldiers and military
Right.
if you're in a war.
Right.
So I think I really feel like Star Trek has always faltered with that. That's one of the things I praise Enterprise for is that the Makos, like they
Yes.
realized that they needed infantry and Marines. You
Yep.
know, like before, you know, yeah. So
Exactly.
Well, a couple of things that bug me about Starfleet is that they're willing to always compromise while other people can do whatever the fuck they want. That seems to be a Starfleet thing, especially with the Gorn, which was ridiculous. Another thing as well, they put a line in space, even though planets rotate. So that line in space wouldn't mean shit because eventually
No,
the
the galaxy is flat, just like Earth is flat. That's why they drew a line in the
okay. Okay, all right. I'm glad you're being sarcastic, but
somebody had to say it. Somebody had to say it.
but yeah, well, we are on Kick as well, so there'll be a lot of flat earthers who probably agree with you right now. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Wait till we get
no.
on Rumble. Oh my god,
The comments are just
so-
about to
One
blow
of
up.
us.
Oh, yeah.
One of us, we have a flat Earth. No.
Waiting.
yeah,
It was a joke.
exactly. No, by actually saying that we're not flat earthers, we're probably insulting them. But nevertheless, yeah, that always bugged me regarding that line in space. Is the most putting a line in fucking space around planets is the most stupidest thing. But nevertheless, whatever. You know, I'm willing to give that a pass. You know, I am. So, all right. So let's mark this episode. First of all, I'll start with you, Mike and Adam. Flat universes.
Flat universe.
Yeah, you started something. See that?
Yes.
I can't decide between an 8 or a 9. 8.5.
I gotta also do an 8. I think that they're I'm just gonna keep it at an 8.
That's what I'm
Shepard?
thinking as well.
God, I really want to give this a 9. I don't know what I gave it before,
Good cliff.
but I'll give it. I'll give it an 8 as well. I mean, it's still an excellent episode, regardless. And it's more tonally what I want from my Strange New Worlds in the future, for sure. For majority of the episodes, not just a couple of episodes. So yeah, all right. Really good. So let's now mark the season as a whole. And how do you guys feel about the entire season of Strange New World season 2? Because if you don't mind me starting, I'm a little bit disappointed. Actually, a lot of the marks I've given have been, mediocre, or one or two really below average, but most of them has been kind of average, and I expect a bit more from my Star Trek. I think Strange New World season 1, they really tried to be that episodic show, but they kind of went a little bit off the rails with season 2, and they tried to do a bit of everything here and there, dabble in one too many genres, in my opinion, and it needed to course correct big time. So I'm a bit disappointed with this episode. I'll mark it in a minute. Sorry, the season. But how did you feel about it, Shepard?
The whole season, I pretty much like everything of the whole season. I mean, I'm a diehard Trekkie. I like anything of Star Trek, either good or bad. It's just like doing a Star Trek fan film. You have good episodes, you have bad episodes. But
yeah, but if you acknowledge something is bad, you can still be a fan of Star Trek.
Oh, yeah.
And acknowledge bad, regardless of being a fan. Like I'm a fan of Star Trek, but I'm not going to let my biases say that something's good when it's shit. If you know what I mean.
But I think that the whole season was pretty good in my eyes.
Fair enough. Mike and Adam.
It's the meme with Julian Bashir and Garrick.
God, there's a few of those.
They're good,
Mhm.
My dear doctor, all episodes, all Trek's good.
Mm-hmm.
I butchered that, but yeah,
Yes, you did.
I feel like yeah, it did kind of go off the rails. It did go in a lot of different directions, but they're bouncing around the universe. I feel like that's okay. Um, I give well, are we giving our numbers yet or?
No, not yet, not yet, Mike.
Okay. I would say that as far as they didn't really have anything as an overarching storyline. It was episodic, and you had a lot of really good episodes and a couple bad ones or
Right.
memorable ones. But I still feel, as far as this being a new Star Trek show, I think it set itself apart from Discovery and
It
from
did.
Lower Decks, and you're really starting to get the cast
Mm-hmm.
and fall in love with some of the characters. I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a fun time with it. I like, yeah, sure, you can sit there and nitpick a couple episodes, but you know, coming out of Discovery, which was a much more disappointment for me,
You've
I
only
really
seen
like
season 2.
yeah, the first two seasons, but still, I've liked this a lot more.
Actually,
I've really liked Pike's look. I've loved a lot of the cast members.
We
They're
do
funny,
like Pike's look.
and yes, I love the silver hair daddy
Yeah.
look with Pike. But
before sorry,
yeah,
go on. Before
no,
I pass over to
it
Cheetah,
was fun, and I really enjoyed it.
I just want to quickly also add that this this new sort of formula of making episodic programming with a sort of like sort of arc storytelling at the same time is quite tricky, you know. But they kind of got done that well recently with Strange New Worlds. But I will say that what they kind of done this season with that, I'm not too impressed with. Like Leon just fawning over Kirk for several episodes. Don't give a fuck. You know, Pike and his fuck buddy captain. Don't give a fuck.
That was
Chapel and
the
Spock's Chapel and Spock, their relationship was over before it even began. What was the fucking point? You know what I mean? Like there's no substance to their relationship. Okay, we like each other, we make out, we fuck, and now it's over. Like it's bullshit. It really is. It's bullshit. Like these arc story arcs that go over the entire season. It's fucking stupid. You know, we've got no Ortega as well. I'm sorry, Adam. Go on.
You got to remember, Trek doesn't get good until at least the 3rd season.
Yeah.
No, yeah, regardless, you have to still talk about what this season is. And you know, a lot of people have been praising Strange New Worlds for being the exception to the rule with season 1. So with season 2, it should also be good. And regardless of season 3 possibly being better whenever that comes out, you have to judge this season for what this season is. And like I said, we needed an Ortega's episode for fuck's sake. You know, it still hasn't happened yet. When will it happen? I have no fucking. They have no idea themselves. I think
Yeah,
the writers are
we
totally
need some
clueless.
more story for her and maybe a romantic interest there too.
And the character of Mitchell as well. Like 1 minute she seems to be more prominent. Like early in the early episodes, she seems to be somebody who's going to be quite a prominent character, and all of a sudden she's disappearing. Fucking hocus pocus. Even though I wasn't her biggest fan, she appeared, disappeared. She really was fucking hocus and pocusing. Anyway, I'm sorry for you jabbering on, Cheeto. Before we mark it, how do you feel about this episode? This season, sorry. This
I
season.
mean, I agree with you. I don't think this season was as much of a disappointment for me as it was for you, but I do think that you are correct that this is not the strongest sophomore outing for Strange New Worlds. And I also agree with Mike and Adam is that the fact that is that this Trek always just it always hits its stride in the 3rd season. So season 1 was good. Season 2 was I would say a half a step back. So let's hope that season 3 is 2 steps forward from there.
Yeah.
So,
but what about this season, regardless of season 3, whenever that happens? What about this season?
It's good.
It's good.
I've said everything I need to say about every one of the episodes. I mean, it's good. You know.
Okay, well, we're going to start with you.
Subscription.
Well, we're going to start with you, Cheeto, when it comes to marking the season because you haven't been playing the marking game with us. So this time, I want to know, how do you feel about season 2 as a whole out of 10?
Probably 7. I would say it's still above. It's above average, but it's not like I wouldn't say. As I said, I think I gave season 1 8 or 9. So I mean, I would definitely say this one's like a 7. As I said, there were some forgettable episodes. There were some definite moments of frustration, and that dumbass chief engineer. It smells like. It sounds like yes. I just can't. She needs to go gurgle balls
You
somewhere
can't have
else.
Okay.
salt.
Oscar
That's
the
what I'm
Grouch
hearing.
for sure.
Cheeto doesn't have.
Okay, I'm going to crisscross here. Going to go down to you, Captain Shepard. What did you think? What was your overall mark for season 2 out of 10?
Overall mark for the whole season. Most of the episodes are good. There's a couple of bad ones here and there, but that damn Gordon one, I wasn't too crazy about that Gordon one, but I would give the whole season a big fat 10 because I'm a true Trekkie.
I like Captain Shepard. I virtual.
There was an episode I didn't like, but I'm giving it a perfect
The
mark.
whole season, why not?
10 sausages, baby. 10 sausages.
Just
Man,
like
they could be just. They could have 10 episodes of pure silence and then just walking around pressing buttons. 10 out of 10. All right. Mike and Adam, what are you gonna give it?
I'm gonna go an 8.
I think I was originally going to do an 8, but I'm going with Captain Shepard. I'm giving it like a 9.5.
that works.
Let's
I
do
feel
it.
like there's a lot of good room
Yeah.
for improvement.
It's a lot of good.
There was
There's a
a
couple
lot
bad
of good, and the bad. Like if we're talking about bad episodes, at least it wasn't ugly ass Klingons like in Discovery.
Right.
So I mean, the whole season was at least above average for me.
Right.
So I
There you go.
9.5. There you go. You helped me improve my score, Captain Shepard.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You guys are kindred spirits. You guys should start a podcast
You
together.
solidified me at an 8.
Never know, we might.
Teetering on a
I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of stuck between the 6 and the 7.
Boo.
I demand more from my Star Trek, and I don't want to necessarily give it a pass because it's Star Trek. You have to still be good. There's certain shows, that weren't good enough. Enterprise, and regardless of it being Star Trek, never lasted 7 seasons, and never really had a legacy. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Sorry, not to cut you off. Let's put it on to a Picard, Captain Pike, and Lower Decks. Where would you put those rankings as far as your top tier?
Oh, Lower Decks is in the top 10 for sure. Picard season 3, I was crying buckets by the final episode. I was like I was. Yes, you got me. You gave me the fan service. I'm a poker player myself, so watching those guys playing poker around the table, I fucking loved it. You know what I mean? And poker's been a significant part of TNG when it comes to some of the recreational activities away from the bridge. So yeah, I loved all of that shit. It was really good. It was really good. Season 3 was close to perfect. Close, not perfect, but close.
I'm really.
I'll give it a 7. I'll give it a 7. I was close to giving it a 6, but I'll give Strange New Worlds a 7. I want them to do better next time. They need to do better because there's a lot of experimentation this season, and sometimes the tried and tested is sometimes the best way to do things. And I hope they do more of that. I want them to go on more planets and do things on more planets. I don't think we got enough of that this season.
No,
that's true.
A lot. There were, so I want to see more of that. And maybe if they're going to do the comedy episode, 2, not 3. Not 3. Here we go. Just 2, because the musical episode was just one too many, in my opinion. I want my Star Trek to be a bit serious at times.
We didn't really watch Strange New Worlds until we finished Picard. And having watched all of Picard and then watched all the way through season 2, I'm really enjoying the direction that they're going, and I
Mhm.
think that there's room for improvement. But it's so much better than the mediocreness of Discovery. So it's just like you had really solid
You've
Picard,
only seen season
really
2 of
strange, like
Discovery.
Strange New World season 2. Yeah, it could have been a little bit better, but it was it's still really enjoyable season, and it's still fun to watch. And I really like that.
Watch Discovery season 3 and 4. It's much different. Then you can.
Yeah. I agree. You guys go on. You guys go on about Star Trek only gets better from the first season onwards. Discovery is definitely in that category, 100%.
Yeah.
Real quick, just to overlay over our ratings for each episode, which I know Jonathan Frakes directed the crossover. Which other ones did he do?
Oh, I don't remember. I think he only.
I'm trying to look it up, but
I think he only did that one.
I'll be shocked if he didn't do episode 10. Episode 10 is down his alley.
Damn Gorns.
So,
Hey, Jonathan Frakes himself has said that Gene Roddenberry's original vision for Star Trek does not make great TV. Jonathan Frakes himself said that.
no, look, evolution is important.
you see that with. Oh, sorry.
You have to evolve. You have to evolve the product, and I have no problem with that. Some people have a problem with evolution. I don't. You know, it's inevitable. You know, once was can never be the same again. So things need to change.
Jonathan Frakes did
times.
not direct episode 10.
Fair enough. So, all right. So this has been very nice. Thank you very much, Mike and Adam, for joining us. Thank you very much, Captain Shepard, for coming back with us. Being good fun, and thank you very much, Chito, for being a fantastic wingman once again. And to everyone else out there,
say being a gentleman's cunt.
Like Jesus Christ. But regardless, tomorrow we're going to be back with the World's Gone Insane podcast, where we're going to be talking all things, everything, and we mean everything, from politics to video games to sports to news. The lot is all there. Myself and Ginger Greekers, and whoever else wants to join us can join us. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. Take care, bye bye, and may the force